The derivative has many applications in business and economics. For example, marginal analysis. Marginal cost is the cost associated with producing one more of a product than is currently being produced. That's the idea of this marginal stuff. What happens if you do one more of the thing you're doing? So similarly, marginal revenue is the change in revenue associated with selling one more of a product than is currently being sold. And marginal profit is the change in profit, again associated with selling one more of a product than is currently being sold. So if you increase by one, what happens? Here's an example of what that looks like. Let's say for a particular product, the cost, revenue, and profit functions are given by C of x equals 500 plus 2x, R of x equals 8x, and P of x equals 6x minus 500. Where x is the number of units produced and sold of the product. We want to figure out what's the change in cost, revenue, and profit associated with increasing production from, for example, x equals 300 units to x equals 301 units. So that's what we're talking about with this marginal stuff. If you increase the number of units by 1, what happens to these other functions? Well, so let's see. The change, we'll start with cost. The change in cost is going to be the cost of producing 301 units minus the cost of producing 300 units. Right? The difference in the two costs is the change in cost. So let's compute what that is. C of 301 is 500 plus 2 times 301. And then we're subtracting C of 300, which is 500 plus 2 times 300. So what do we have here? We have 500 plus 602, and then I'm going to distribute this minus in to both of these guys. So I have minus 500 minus 600. So let's see, the 500s are going to cancel, and 602 minus 600 is $2. So there's an increase in cost of $2 if you increase production from 300 to 301. So that's the idea of marginal cost. Similarly, the change in revenue going from 300 to 301 units. Let's see, revenue is 8x, so that's going to be 8 times, oh, I guess I should write first. Okay, so I should really write first that what we're doing here is revenue at level 301 minus revenue at production level 300. Again, the difference in the two revenues is the change in revenue. So if we compute that, we have 8 times 301 minus 8 times 300. Now you can whip out a calculator and do that, or even do it by hand. But I'm going to show you a little trick here. If this trick confuses you, just ignore it. But I've got a common factor of 8 there, and I'm going to factor out. And so the 8's really multiplying 301 minus 300, which is just a 1, and so we get 8. Anyway, however you get that number, we see that the revenue increases by $8 if you increase production by 1 unit. Last, change in profit is the profit obtained when 301 units are sold minus the profit obtained when 300 units are sold. One more time, change in profit is the difference in the two profits. Let's see, what was our profit function? 6x minus 500. So 6 times 301 minus 500 minus 6 times 300 minus 500. And you can compute this the way we did for the change in cost where I distributed, or you can simplify inside the brackets first and then subtract that. I'm going to show you that trick one more time by not doing these multiplications yet, distributing that minus sign in. So I'll have minus 6 times 300 plus 500. Again, if this trick confuses you, just do things your normal way. This probably comes of me having grown up without calculators and needing to find easy ways to do arithmetic. Anyway, the 500s are going to cancel each other, and then I've got 6 times one thing minus 6 times the other thing, so I can factor the 6 out. Oops. That leaves me 6 times 1, which is just $6. So the profit goes up by $6. Notice that makes sense because our revenue goes up by $8, but it's offset by an increased cost of $2, and profit, of course, is revenue minus cost. So it makes sense that we'd have a change in profit of $6. Next up is some bad news, but I'll leave that for the next video.